friends, to this time of worship. Welcome to first-time viewers, to relative newcomers to our faith, and to longtime members of this congregation. How good it is to gather together virtually across the interweb. I am the Reverend Dr. Kelly Murphy Mason, Senior Minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Wellesley Hills, and I extend a warm welcome to everybody watching the broadcast of this Sunday service, either through the UU Wellesley Hills website or our Facebook page. We are grateful for our remote participants who widen the reach of this beloved community. Whether you are feeling jubilant or heartbroken, frightened or courageous, you belong with us. May all of us find peace this hour. Whoever you are, wherever you find yourself on your personal journey, whatever the sources of your faith, we are glad to have you with us today as we hold our annual flower ceremony, celebrate Father's Day, and honor the joys of our faithful partnerships with one another. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning. I am Michael Packard, Acting Director of Educational and Family Ministries at UU Society of Wellesley Hills, where we are celebrating 150 years of gathering in community. For generations, we have joined with open hearts and minds to worship together, seeking what is sacred among us. Please know that for this virtual worship, you can find the order of service on the This Sunday page on our website. Immediately following the service, we will hold our fellowship hour in Zoom room. Be sure to join us there. We wish everyone who celebrates a very happy Father's Day and a very happy summer solstice. This year, we are building beloved community as part of our 2019-2020 Touchstone project. And in June, our touchstone is good and evil. Let gratitude be the pillow which you kneel upon to say your nightly prayer, says Maya Angelou, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. What bridges does your faith allow you to build? We encourage you to join a monthly Touchstone group if you have not already, and they will be meeting throughout the summer. Be sure to follow UU Wellesley Hills on our social media outlets to keep current on our happenings. And please note that after today, we will move to a reduced summer schedule with Joan DeArtemis serving as our summer minister through the beginning of September. Later this week, the Unitarian Universalist Association will be holding its 2020 General Assembly entirely online. Our UU Learning Community will host a watch party of the UUA Where Lecture to be given by journalist Naomi Klein on Saturday, June 27th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, with a discussion to follow. Contact Mark Scheckman with any questions. On Sunday, June 28th, Joan DeArtemis invites everyone to watch a live stream of the 2020 General Assembly Sunday Worship Service online at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Each Sunday, we take a few moments to recognize some of our many volunteers. Today, we want to thank the members of our Worship Associates team, who this past Wednesday offered their final midweek reflection of the year. Throughout the summer months, the Worship Associates will lead virtual chapel services each Sunday starting at 10 a.m., with both online worship and virtual fellowship happening in our Zoom room. Join them then and there. Now we invite those of you watching the broadcast of the worship service on our UU Wellesley Hills Facebook page, take a moment to announce yourselves in the audience and to greet one another in this electronic community of ours.
Simply to be, and to let things be as they speak wordlessly from the mystery of what they are. Simply to say a silent yes to hillside flowers and the trees we walk under. To pass from one person to another a morsel of bread and answering yes. This is the simplest, the quietest of sacraments. These are the words of the Reverend Jacob Trapp. Let us worship together. The flaming chalice is a shining symbol of our Unitarian Universalist commitments. The words for our chalice lighting are spoken in unison. If you have a chalice on hand at home, you may want to light it now. We light these chalices to illuminate our faithful way forward as an inspirational community of hope. Together, we seek spiritual growth. We strive for just and responsible action. We dedicate ourselves to leading lives of compassion and purpose. Knowing how we have been blessed, we choose to bless the world.
Good morning. I'm Susie Cartran, Director of Music at UU Wellesley Hills. Please join me in our opening hymn this morning, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. This was recorded by our choir last spring.
I love it when butterflies come to visit my garden. Today's story touches on the joy that one gets with butterflies in the garden. It comes from a Chinese folktale, and it's called The Butterfly Robe. The Prime Minister of China was exhausted with court life. People were often grabbing and scheming, always pushing for their own causes. And he wanted to get away, even if for a little while. So the minister climbed aboard his sedan chair, still in his beautifully radiant robe, and he asked his bearers to bring him out into the hills. Once there, he climbed down from his chair and walked out into the meadow. The flowers were beautiful. The minister sat on the stone and reveled in the beauty of the moment and the area that he was sitting. Sitting thus, so still, he noticed a bee flying by. and it came from a flower and landed on his robe. "Hello there, friend. You think this is a flower, don't you?" And with that, he cut off a piece of his robe and said, "Here be a flower for you." And he tossed it onto the grass. Now laughing, he thought, "Cut off another one, throw it in the air. Here, bees, these are for you." And he threw it high in the air. This piece of fabric floated for a bit and then came to land on an open flower. Then it rose and began to flutter from flower to flower. "What is this?" the minister wondered. He cut off another piece of his robe and tossed it into the air after the first. The second one also floated in the meadow, fluttering its silken wings. More and more pieces he cut off with his sword until the entire meadow was shimmering with these beautiful silken creatures. Now, the minister was left wearing only tattered pieces of his ragged robe. But the meadow was alive with butterflies. Soon, the man set off for home, a happy fellow. Sure, he had to return to the torturous life of the court, but now he was revived. He had created something of beauty, and the wonder of that beauty would sustain him for the rest of his life. May you find beauty and joy to sustain you as well.
Today, we hold our annual flower ceremony. The custom was begun by the Reverend Dr. Norman Fabian Chopik, founder of the Czech Unitarian Church in June 1923, as a response to the need at his Prague congregation for a religious ritual that would bind people there more closely together. His wife Maja, also a Unitarian minister, later brought this springtime rite of gathering and sharing seasonal blooms to the United States when she made a trip to Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1940. Since then, UU congregations worldwide have honored it as a tradition. This year, two longtime members of UU Wellesley Hills, Elaine Mattel and Doug Patas, were selected by the UU Partner Church Council to receive 2020 Stewards of Partnership Awards. This award recognizes those UUs who have provided exceptional care to their partnerships with international churches. As many of you know, Elaine and Doug have encouraged meaningful involvement with our partner church in Tarashko for several years now. We extend our sincerest congratulations to Elaine and Doug both. We are so proud of their many valuable contributions to Unitarian Universalism and grateful to count them among our many amazing UU Wellesley Hills members. They both kindly agreed to share their reflections on partnership with us this morning.
I grew up in a small family that tended to circle the wagons when it came to welcoming others into our home. I don't remember our having a lot of visitors. My parents generally conveyed a cynical distrust of others and warned of potential dangers in our interactions. There was an us and a them. Our insularity as a family was broken one weekend a year when we hosted AFS students traveling through our town. I remember feeling totally captivated by these students from all over the world, 2 visitors for 2 days at a time. Although these welcoming experiences filled just a handful of days during my childhood, I believe they left a significant imprint. My personal boundaries were fundamentally reset when I was in college. Doug and I were lucky enough to live in a dorm with head residents, Chip and Susie Case, whose door was always open to everyone. Their radical hospitality enriched my college experience, creating an enduring sense of family beyond blood ties. Once they left Harvard for Wellesley College, their generosity extended to countless international students, amazing young women who have become part of our extended family. Doug and I tried to embrace the radical hospitality that had been modeled for us as we grew our own small family. We welcomed 3 ABC host daughters, a set of Metco twins, and our own Wellesley College international student, a Korean who grew up in Papua New Guinea. We often served as a surrogate host family for Chip and Susie's international contingent. As adoptive parents of Mexican-American twin daughters, we wanted to affirm the lessons we had learned about the value of diverse connections and a broad definition of family. Everyone became part of us. UU Wellesley Hills has enabled Doug and me to continue to learn about and practice radical hospitality through countless partnership opportunities. I grasp at these opportunities for many reasons. I enjoy learning through others' experience of the world. I appreciate the chance to practice being the person I aspire to be. I find meaning in making a difference for others. Our ever-expanding circle of partners includes members of the UU congregation in Lacombe, Louisiana, Burundian Unitarians living in East Africa, Canada, and the US, as well as a village of Transylvanian Unitarians. The more we put into building and maintaining these relationships, the richer I feel. Building partnerships takes time, focused energy, and a willingness to extend ourselves outside of our comfort zone. For us, the investment has resulted in a sustaining faith that we are one, despite the divisions that plague our world.
My origin story is very different from Elaine's. Helping others and sharing our family time with them was a core part of my upbringing. My parents were always bringing others into our lives. Some of my earliest memories are of trips into the east side of Cleveland with my mother and her church friends to partner with Black-led church groups there in protest and support. We would host urban kids in the summer. My father always seemed to focus on the students who didn't quite fit in his work as a private school teacher and administrator, so we also shared our home and its 50 acres of land with some of them. You've heard from Elaine how our lives were transformed in college, but what Elaine did not share is how my life was transformed by her. My mother and Elaine share the critical qualities of compassion and empathy, but they were otherwise quite different. I inherited my mother's lack of self-discipline and focus without her drive to change the world. It took Elaine a few years, but eventually, as we became more than friends, she led me back to caring about others and not just myself, my work, and sports. As was my father, I am very proud to be the man behind the woman. I am overly fond of an expression I first used a few years ago, but it is fitting in this case. When it comes to partnering, I do half the work and Elaine does the other 90%. I am continuously amazed by all she accomplishes. Partnering is hard work, whether in a personal relationship, a religious community, or a social justice setting. I find myself continuously challenged by the required relationship building, but immensely satisfied by how it enriches my life. My work as a volunteer and now board member of the UU Urban Ministry, our partners in Roxbury, challenges me to live into the mantra I adopted for my work 29 years ago. I have a different point of view, not a better point of view. I learn and grow every time I interact with our partners at the Urban Ministry.
Each Sunday, this congregation collects a weekly offering as part of its larger spiritual practice of generosity. This morning, UU Wellesley Hills will be collecting donations to support Reach Out and Read, or ROAR, a local literacy organization. Boston Medical Center is delivering curbside immunizations and ROAR titles to children during the pandemic. Medical professionals will continue to provide books and encourage reading at every checkup. Children benefit from reading starting at birth. Reading together provides opportunities for families to build bonds and furthers language acquisition and promotes children's brain development. ROAR also supports parents during the pandemic with free resources and a parental resource guide. During the weeks that we have virtual worship, donations will be taken electronically. Visit Give on our website and go to the online giving page. That will allow you to make online payments using Breeze. Once there, be sure to select plate collection from the drop-down menu. It takes maybe a couple of minutes at most, so we invite you to donate now. If you choose to mail a check to our church office, be sure to put ROAR on the memo line. Please be as generous as you can in your support of ROAR this Sunday. The minister of our Transylvanian partner church in Tarashka, Reverend Martone, this morning offers his thoughts on our flower ceremony. The Tarashka congregation and UU Wellesley Hills have had an international partnership for approximately 30 years now. Usually in our flower ceremony, people are asked to bring flowers of their choice into the church. But since our campus is currently closed, the friends and members of UU Wellesley Hills instead sent us snapshots to share. The format of this ceremony is altered, but the spirit of it remains unchanged. We celebrate the joy of joining together as a faith community. Our virtual bouquet holds a beautiful combination of flowers that represent our vibrant fellowship. No two blossoms are alike, as no two people are alike, yet each makes wonderful contributions for the flourishing of the whole.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know, 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 I know. I know, 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 I know this rose, I know this rose, I know my fear, I know my fear, I know my soul, I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose. this rose will.
Let us unite our hearts in prayer, giving voice to the words of Dr. Chopin. In the name of Providence, which implants in the seed the future of the flower, and in our hearts the longing for people to live in harmony. In the name of the highest in whom we move, and who makes the parent and the sibling as well as the lover and the loner what they are. In the names of sages and great leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of the age of mutual respect, let us renew our resolution, sincerely to be true kin, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from each other. In this holy resolve, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are indeed God's family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us, and endeavor for a more perfect and a more joyful life. Amen. With these words now in our minds and in our hearts, let us enter into the sacred stillness of a shared silence, listening for the wisdom within. Ours is a spiritual community where we find and forge connection. We trust in the strength of our mutual support, knowing how it has sustained us day after day, year after year. We heed its call to build beloved community. Today we hold in the light all those for whom another family holiday again brings its complications. Those children who have lost parents and those parents who have lost children. Those who never had the opportunity to know a father or felt it safe to connect with a father. Those Black and brown fathers who had to raise families in circumstances that are inhospitable to them and their intrinsic dignity. And all those who struggle with the family separations caused by the coronavirus crisis, who cannot celebrate Father's Day as they would have hoped to. And we lift up all those men and male-identified individuals who have sought to transmit the best of family life from generation to generation. Those grandfathers and fathers and husbands and uncles and brothers who have given support and nurture to their relatives. Those teachers and coaches and officers and workers and volunteers who have provided encouragement and mentoring to the young and rising generations, modeling for them the profound strength of devotion itself. Now we invite you to recall the names of persons or places you are holding in your hearts, either as a source of concern or cause for celebration. If you have candles on hand at home, you may want to light one for our collective joys and another for our collective sorrows. As you feel moved, you may share the names of those persons or places by typing them into our Facebook page. They will be held in our hearts and thoughts today. This morning, we name Laura and Frank Pate, Sally and Rick Watts, Eve Slater, Emily Senecal Miller, Liz Becker and Ben Unger, Maggie Walsh and the VA staff, Mary Ann Lafitte. These names have been heard and honored in this community. Alongside these, we know are certain joys and sorrows that remain private and unspoken this hour. Those too have a rightful place here. May fellow feeling encourage all of us toward ever more compassionate living. Our kindled lamps remind us that we are all kindred souls. We are never alone in the human condition. There is a love that cares for all.
please join me in our meditation on breathing? We will sing it through 3 times. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Our responsive reading this morning is In the Time of Silver Rain, a poem written by Langston Hughes, a literary luminary of the Harlem Renaissance. In the time of silver rain, the earth puts forth new life again.
Green grasses grow and flowers lift their heads.
And over all the plain, the wonder spreads.
Of life, of life, of life.
In the time of silver rain.
The butterflies lift silken wings to catch a rainbow cry.
And trees put forth new leaves to sing in joy beneath the sky.
When spring
And life are new.
Doubtless you've heard the popular American adage, bloom where you're planted. These are meant as words of encouragement, and these days we could all use some encouragement. At the end of spring and start of summer, as we conclude our usual program year, we find neither season quite conforming to our expectations. This Sunday, we're celebrating our very first virtual flower ceremony. We are doing things differently than we have before because Extraordinary times have required our collective adaptability, and we have marshaled it. So instead of bringing in blossoms to share from your gardens or trees or bushes, as you have in June in past years, you sent us snapshots of your faces and your flowers. It has been delightful to watch them parade across our computer screens this morning. We were even able to catch a glimpse of bright and beautiful geraniums potted against the backdrop of that craggy Transylvanian mountainside, thanks to the message Reverend Martone sent us. Although we are kept apart, we remain connected, sometimes in amazing and ingenious ways. Such is the power of faith community, ours and others, then and now. Around the globe, Unitarian congregations have been celebrating a certain sort of flower ceremony for nearly a century, but flowers have figured in various kinds of religious instruction for millennia. In his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus told disciples to make a close study of the lilies of the field. The Buddha famously delivered a wordless sermon on a lotus blossom to his students. He held it aloft until one of his students smiled at him. And then the Buddha knew that his message had indeed been received. There is a living model flowers provide that we are meant to appreciate moment to moment. They can pollinate a deeper understanding of our own existences. In 1969, the minister of this church, the Reverend Dr. William Brooks Rice, delivered a wistful address on what was then simply called Flower Sunday. The late 60s were a time of massive civil unrest, as is our own time today. This country was faced with a spiritual reckoning in the aftermath of assassinations and uprisings, as a seemingly endless war waged overseas. Spirits were low and the national outlook was at best uncertain. Yet the congregation held its flower ceremony, as was its custom, because beauty always exists, even in the midst of colossal ugliness. The sounds we have been hearing have been discordant, the sights we have been seeing have been violent, the words we have been reading have been hateful. All this has been wearying, discouraging, and distracting. In our hearts, we had a dream of love, and in our minds, we had a pattern of community, Dr. Rice told this congregation. But this has been a sorry season of discontent, most difficult for visions. Today is a new day, truly an hour for hope, and joy, and gladness. Let us be thankful for the persistence of flowers and open ourselves to their long wisdom. Today, we continue to stay open to just that. Pointing to the seasons all flowers must weather, Dr. Rice observed. Often they grow in spite of terrible winters and miserable summers. Strange beauty greets us in unexpected places, as if there is a particular grace that is stronger than our carelessness and indifference, he noted. But when we tend to our gardens with love and care, the reward can be greater than the effort. For flowers and children ever speak to us of wonders and glories yet to be. Those wonders yet to be, we still anticipate ourselves. They include greater justice and peace and universal compassion. Recently, we put out the call for volunteer gardeners to help tend the church grounds, even though our campus remains closed this summer, because such care is part of the pattern of our community and has been for generations. The impressive effort of several teams of volunteers has gotten us through an admittedly challenging year. They also make it possible for us and for our many partners to move ahead into the next one, whatever it might bring. Throughout the current coronavirus crisis, I have been amazed by the dedication of the people here at UU Wellesley Hills. Those spiritual virtues Dr. Rice cataloged over 50 years ago, a particular persistence, a long wisdom, a strong grace, can hold us in especially good stead now. People feel rooted here, And it is that deepest push of roots that helps us all to blossom. The tangle of our roots creates sacred connections that can span the physical distances. As Reverend Trapp maintained, to pass from one person to another and answering yes is the simplest, quietest of sacraments. Our flower ceremony both enacts and affirms that. However, its forms might get adapted by our technology. Here are our answering yeses, complete with their petals and leaves and stems. One of our members just sent me a copy of the congregational photo we took in our sanctuary last June, right after our 2019 flower ceremony. It's the sort of indoor scene that makes people rather nervous these days, a giant press of people with no one masked. No one's masked, and nearly everyone is smiling. Each has a fresh bloom in hand. We will have moments like that again, but none of us knows exactly when we can do it again. It's hard to live with the uncertainty of that and the reality of all the other unknowns we are confronting. But we need to let our worry about the future not constrict our ability to be present to the wonderful moments we inhabit now. By nature, flowers bloom where they are planted. Their entire purpose is to blossom, and so they do. As humans, we are more accustomed to having diverse aims, making our way, imagining solutions, exploring alternatives. We would never settle for simply vegetating, would we? Probably not. But those lilies of the field, lotus blossoms, and even the lilacs outside our windows do more than speak to us. They preach at us, and we attend. They remind us of the necessity of accepting our immediate conditions and flourishing anyhow. Such things can and do happen during times like this. Poet Langston Hughes reminded us, green grasses grow and flowers lift their heads in joy beneath the sky when spring and life are new. May we never lose the newness of our lives and the fullness of our days, whatever they contain. Let us continue to present them to one another like the precious gifts they are, aside from all our own expectations. As we continue blooming in place, we can take in that widest, highest, truest view.
Please join me in singing our closing hymn this morning, number 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. Life is the
Now that our worship this morning is concluding, we are extinguishing our individual chalices. The closing words are spoken in unison. Extinguishing this flame, which has burned bright in our midst, we revere what has been kindled within each one of us, warmth and community, the light of truth, a perpetual spark of hope. Knowing abundant blessing, we choose to bless the world. May the quality of each of our lives be our benediction and a blessing to all we touch. Those who take hold of life, may you find life returning your embrace. Those who sense God, may you find God always with you. Those who seek the right path, may the way appear ahead. Step out in faith and go in peace, remembering that you are well loved and we are all one. So it is. So may it always be.